Hello, and welcome back to another Doujinshi reading from White Album 2. Today we're checking out not so much a story doujin as much as it's almost like a sketchbook of the artist. So even the front page, which is what we're looking at now with Kazusa and Setsuna, is pretty much just a sketchbook. A beautiful sketch, don't get me wrong, but it's like a lot of artists will do this. They'll put out like fully done, in color, inked doujins, and then they'll also release a book of sketches, which is kind of like a nice bonus. So this is Galore Cafe Mini, Vox WA2. So let's go ahead and check out some of his sketches. He also goes over some of his thoughts in the process of drawing this. Good morning / evening / day. I'm 2C equals Garoa. A celebration for last stage 3. At the moment, I'm deep in the midst of crunch time for the WA2 manga adaptation, so all I can give you is a connection of roughs, but I hope you can enjoy them a bit at least. Now, as he says, 2C equals Garoa is the person who drew at least, the White Album 2 manga series, the official manga series. So it's not a doujin drawn by just anyone, but it's a doujin drawn by someone who's pretty close with the White Album 2 production team. Adorable crepes. Crepes in Japan are amazing. I mean, crepes anywhere are amazing, but crepes are pretty popular in Japan. Snow in background. Of course, you can't have White Album 2 without snow in the background. I'll start by zipping from doodles to various rejected covers, and from there to early character designing. At the beginning, I practiced drawing Kazusa a lot, because I couldn't get her to come out the way I wanted. But they all wound up looking like illustrations. This is hard. It's hard to find your own style when there's a medium that already exists. Like, obviously, Kazusa's been drawn before, but you don't want to replicate it one-to-one because then it's just, like, not your style anymore. You want to take the characters and replicate them in your own style. That's pretty important. She's so angry. Oh, glasses Setsuna. We never get to see enough glasses Setsuna. A few Setsunas. The bottom left is a doodle from the very start, when I was thinking of going with a shoujo manga sort of style. That's like the girly kind of manga, the romance ones. The top left and bottom right are current manga sketches. The doodle was for CC, so she looks a bit older. Absolutely beautiful. I love the fact that you can make them look older. I think that takes a lot of skill, especially when it's an already existing character. You don't just want to like stretch them vertically, right? You can't just make them taller and be like, oh, 3 years later. You really have to make them look more mature. And I feel like 2C equals Garoa did a really good job with that. No, I don't want to see this. Poor Kazusa. A few Kazusas. I wasn't able to draw the top one for the manga, which was super frustrating. So I'm glad I was able to put it here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is actually pretty important. So if you don't recognize it, this is the scene from the car after they had gone on the onsen trip together. And Kazusa had to watch Haruki and Setsuna just be together, and she was so jealous and upset. And then she's bawling her eyes out on the steering wheel. Here it is. But they took the onsen scene out of the manga, which I was like, what? I know there's space constraints, but that just felt like such an important part of the story that they kept out. Aww. Angry Kazusa, teasing Kazusa. Throwing a cover sketch here. I actually wanted to have a lot of images like this for the manga, but the composition went in a certain direction, like X doing X with X. Can I do that? So, unfortunately. Actually, how much of this am I allowed to talk about? There aren't a lot of works that make me want to go on and on like this about which character's team I'm on, which ending I like best, etc. Once the whole thing is done, I'd like to talk about all of it. The team thing is pretty important, especially in the Japanese fandom. They say, I'm Team Kazusa, I'm Team Setsuna. I mean, it's a thing in the English-speaking fandom as well, but it's important to know, like, who the big players of White Album 2, who they think is the better girl. I think it's interesting. Also, this is a really cute image. Slightly less sketchy than the others. I really love the relationship between the three of them and IC. It's like, now that they've started, they've got no choice but to see it through to the end. Yeah, see through the concert at least. They didn't have to stick together forever, especially when they just kept hurting each other repeatedly. But that's a story for another time. Adorable. Oh, a very much less sketchy version of the three. This one really highlights the style of the manga. Like, if you had seen this and then look at the manga cover, you can think, oh yeah, that's absolutely the same artist. That's absolutely the same person's style, especially the eyes. The eyes, I feel like, are a little bit bigger than in the game. Character portraits I drew to use as screen tone references. I realized later on that when I draw the lines in key art and illustration references, they're too thin and lack impact. I really need to study up a little more in that area. Also, the fact that this person, like, this art is amazing. Beautiful. The fact that the artist is like, I really need to study a little more. I really need to work hard on this is such a cool thing to me because there is always one more thing to learn. Regardless how perfect we may think this looks, maybe it doesn't look perfect to them. God, I love Io. She's so cute. She's so beautiful. Cover sketch. Personally, I wanted to have the protagonist on the back cover too. And this one did actually make it. You probably recognize this image. This image has been used in the manga. This image has been used on clear files. It was a pretty big one. Setsuna in the falling snow. The background's not quite the same. I think they took out the piano, or at least it wasn't as prominent. But Setsuna and Kazusa here in the window with the snow falling was what it ended up being. Oh, and Kazusa looking to the sky. This is so pretty. You know, one of the things I really like is you can tell there are very few lines, and it's just kind of the general shape of Kazusa. And yet, I feel like there's so much emotion in it. God, it's so nice. White Album 2 is the first adult game I've played in several years. White Album was my favorite game from Leaf, so I was very much looking forward to this one. I always expect too much out of sequels and end up getting disappointed, but White Album 2 was so far above and beyond that I could barely contain myself. And at one point, I was thinking of putting out a doujinshi. Little did you know you're going to end up drawing the manga. However, the story is so perfectly complete, and the policy at Honkimo is imagining beyond the ending. So, realizing that anything I did would be redundant, I gave up on it. This was about a year ago. I never remotely imagined that I would be able to draw its manga adaptation. It's hard to express how emotional I am. Oh. And the love really does come through in some of the drawings in the manga. It really does. I'm working with a 100-page per month output crunch, plus the hell of not being able to use any lyrics for a White Album story. But I'm working diligently to make it something that will make all of the fans of White Album happy. So I hope you'll give it a read when you see it. I'll leave off there for now. Aww. And honestly, the manga is really good. Now, my biggest complaint about the manga is that it leaves out so many scenes and then it really rushes the impactful scenes to the point where I don't feel like it's as impactful. But I wouldn't put that on the artist because obviously the artist doesn't have creative freedom over how many volumes they get or, they're constricted. And it's the management that's like, all right, let's have introductory chapter volume 1, closing chapter volume 2. So unfortunately, it did come off as one of the weaker adaptations of White Album 2, at least to me. But still, it is good. It's nice to see the characters being expressive in the manga. So, this was Galore Cafe Mini Vox WA2. Release date November 3rd at Last Stage 3. Last Stage 3 had a bunch of different doujinshi artists, as well as like stage events and, of course, official people who worked on White Album 2. Publisher Hon no Kimochiya. Artist 2C equals Garoa. Printer Taishi Printing. And you can check out honkimo.com on their website. Oh. That brings us to the end of Garoa. Why can't I? Because I keep trying to say Garoa, actually. Galore Cafe Mini. So, thank you so much for joining me on this doujinshi reading from White Album 2, and I'll be back doing more doujin readings in the future. Until then, hope you take care. See you!